Friends, today we have another lecture, being organized by this Sociology of Education of the Indian Sociological Society. The topic of this lecture, today's lecture is Caste and Pedagogical Practices, Philosophical Praxis of Phule and Ambedkar. In this context, friends, I have invited Professor KUMAR from the Department of Philosophy, University of Delhi. We seek him to apply the philosophical principles and also reasoning to the situations and experiences of sociology of education, because sociology of philosophy is related to the parallel enterprises in the sociology of knowledge, sociology of scientific knowledge, and the sociology of culture, because we can't see any difference between sociology and philosophy, because philosophy provides substance for sociological understanding and vice versa. And at least, as I was reading an article that provided the substance for recalling the interconnectedness between sociology and philosophy in three ways. One is geologically, because sociology is branched off from the lineages of philosophers. Then, friends, secondly, philosophical issues are often raised inside sociology, especially epistemological probings and methodological attempts to legislate the character of sociological knowledge. Thirdly, friends, reversing the relationship, philosophy has become a target for sociological research, theorizing the social conditions under which intellectuals have created philosophical topics and which shape what they think about them. In this context, friends, I will invite formally to speak on the topic caste and pedagogical practices, philosophical praxis of Phule and Ambedkar. Over to the speaker, Professor KESAVA.
Thank you, Professor Mohammad. First of all, I'm thankful to the Research Committee of Education of Indian Sociological Society for giving me this opportunity. I am not a qualified man in this group, as my grounding is not in sociology, and I am the student of philosophy. But however, I will try to see from the way the people like the studies are Phule and Ambedkar, they developed some kind of interdisciplinary approach. In this context, I can extend it to the debates of even the sociology or social sciences in general. I'm really thankful to Professor Mohammad, this good friend of mine, and also happen to be the convener of this committee, for inviting me to this program. As I choose to speak on the topic caste and pedagogical practices, a philosophical practice of Jyotiba Phule and Ambedkar. For quite some time, I'm working on this very particularly after joining the university system. As happened to be a teacher, the immediate question is what to teach. Most of the things either in philosophy and other the allied subjects, I didn't find the life of where I came from, that my life and my experiences, my culture seems to be irrelevant and it's not figured out. That is not the issue. More than that, it is also humiliating experiences, people which we can't relate it to the kind of education, knowledge systems, and also the kind of the curriculum what we are preparing. And you know it very well, the education has a purpose, and also as a function of making the people enlightened. And also we believe that it is a tool of social transformation. But I believe that in this context, there's some way, the way it is knowledge, the way it is institutionalized, the way it is a practice, the way which is validated, this is knowledge, the way it is transmitted. Definitely, there may be dominant opinions, may be reinforced. The problem is that it is even the people, the life of the people who are pushed to the margins. Not only margins, nowhere acknowledged. They didn't feel it. This is a problem to understand very particularly disciplines, social sciences, but that to discipline of sociology, which believes a thing, try to understand the society in a much more comprehensive way, and also various dynamics and also dimensions of the society. But we believe we have seen that one, the kind of experiences of not only me, if anybody, it is somewhat, it is the very partial, or not only partial, it is some kind of prejudice kind of knowledge system. It is generated and it goes on transmitting. And it is not only comprehensive, and it is some kind of the bias, not bias, we can't say it is happened to be unconsciously. It is to keep the system as a status quo. And some vested interest, the very particularly intellectual classes, they played a role. They never feel it is a guilt or never feel it is a problem. This is they become feel it as a common sense. The commonsensical understanding of the world that is reflected, that is we can know it very well. That is not only just commonsensical in a Gramscian terms, is also hegemonic. It is continued till recent time. Somebody intervened very particularly with our generation, at least the postmodern phenomenon, where good number of scholars enter into the colleges, universities, and they try to look, they search for their life. And in this process, there is one kind of crisis of the polity and governance also. We have seen the entry of the large number of the people into the university education system, the first time entry, and that created some kind of tension and crisis. And not only tension and crisis, they're compelled to revisit. That is the time where it is, we can see the late 80s and 90s, we can see the serious social movements in this country in terms of the annihilation of the caste or anti-caste struggles or feminist struggles or some regional struggles which are backward for some time. And these kind of concerns are very much it is there, and how to accommodate with us the kind of the knowledge systems and also the kind of education what we are doing. And they're compelled to do this one, compelled to incorporate it or take note of the forcefully take note of that one, even though however the bias it is there. But however, still that crisis we can feel it. And of I believe from that crisis only, at least today, we are talking about the with the spirit of the anti-caste consciousness. It doesn't mean that the disciplines of the sociology and anthropology or history not discuss about the caste, but discuss in their own way. Discuss it conveniently, which is not troubles them and all. They never see caste as a power, caste as a even the comfort, caste as a privilege, and even though they are enjoying, but caste as a violence, caste as a subjugation, caste as a one kind of making the people powerlessness and also isolation, exclusion, and also caste also the wealth. These things are there. It is not much discussed. You know it very well. Will come later. The kind of the what are the discourse of the debating about the caste in a social science in particular, general, or it is very the discipline of sociology in particular. Will come later. First of all, let me see to that in a context where we are talking. Somewhere we got the space to speak about the caste in a public forum like this, even though the society for the Indian Sociological Society exists for a long time, even though more than 100 years it is there, even the sociology, it is as a discipline is emerged in India. At least it is more than 50 years, at least we can see the Sociological Society. It took a long time. The people like young generations coming forward, and also even though these people are coming forward, how far they taking the note of these people, and how what kind of respectability and credibility they get from the larger the sociological and the social sciences communities, that is also is an issue to be discussed. But let me see that, and I will try to see in this. This is one way to we got some space to speak in a forums like this, the academic forums like this, and at the same time, now we can see in a changing context. The orientation also is totally changed. It is coming. We for a long time we fight against the colonialism. We have to overcome from the free from the colonial kind of concerns. I don't know how far we succeed. But anyway, the discipline is moved further. But today, this is there after the long time where entry of this the marginalized people came to forefront, and either valleys or women, minorities, or some of the this kind of categories or these people, the tribals, they came forward and get some space, the entry point. But then this entry point also can't be tolerated. We kind of the education system, it is going on now in the name of the revision of the syllabus, a new educational policy, and like that it is looking for the plurality, and it is try to see the inclusiveness, scientific temperament in spirit, like that it is there, the document has written. Then when it is got implemented, kind of discourse is going on in this country, it very well. In fact, we are the very close kind of observers, people who are joined the some of the institutions which are came forward to the revise the syllabus in according to new rules. This is the time we thought that it is one way it is talking about the philosophy, one way talking about our culture, our society, our nation, our culture. This looks very appealing. But in reality, your unity in diversity, but when in reality, it is quite opposite. One kind of homogenization, one kind of diversity is missing, and the kind of the very particularly in the name of the romanticizing or valorizing our culture, our tradition, our philosophy, and they don't want to talk about the or very conveniently the one way they're valorizing imagined golden past or Vedic, Upanishadic or classical past or classical society. But at the same time, they don't want to connect how far it is contemporary related, relevant. And very particularly issues like one way you are imagining the one family, giant family. When talking about the today's nuclear family or also violence in the family, the structural kind of carrier, the patriarchal, the carrier of the patriarchy, that we don't want to see that importance of that one. Let us talk about the kind of giant family. Let us talk about the Vasudhai Kutumbam. But we didn't want to see the problems. We don't want to allow to study also in the name of the culture, in the name of our great so-called values, in kind of the golden values and social values, which are cherished for a long time. I don't know whether really cherished or not. We are imagined at such level in this process today to speak about the gender, the caste, or any kind of the critical note, which are as a victims of the Hindu social order, as victims of the classical culture, as victims of the Dharma Shastric tradition, the textual tradition. These people, when try to talk about that one, they're conveniently, they're negating, not only negating and forcefully they coming forward to oppose this kind of categories, as if in the categories of even the category of the Adivasi seems to be a problem. Let us keep the Janajati like that they try to talk about. And the Dalit is a problem. And the gender is also a problem. In this context, there is a point to talk about the caste and pedagogical practices, the two philosophical practices of Phule and Ambedkar. My point is, you know it very well. It is for some time I'm trying to working out in the concept like caste in class. One of my paper is published in the teaching in unequal societies by the Bloomsbury publication. One of my article it is there, and at the same time I introduce some of the courses. It is as a critical pedagogical practices where for a long time the universities like as a Delhi University or not only Delhi University, any university which is more than 100 years it is there, it is celebrating the centenary years. But there we try to compel the Indian philosophy, very particular Indian philosophy. We can't have the alternative philosophical traditions, which is contesting the Brahminical philosophical systems. There I try to see some kind of the countercultures, critical philosophical traditions. Rich India has a rich critical philosophical traditions are there, from Brahmanic tradition to the contemporary Bhakti, late Bhakti traditions, and also contemporary Phule, Periyar, Ambedkar, Narayana. This kind of tradition is very much it is there. It is also one kind of historical continuity is also there. This course I introduced, and also philosophy of Ambedkar. It is also creating some kind of the people try to accommodate Ambedkar because of political reasons, but at the same time, when come to the really academic level, they feel it is a problematic. Then the Ambedkar, the way is a critical. It is very difficult to accommodate Ambedkar academically. Politically, you may try, just at the same time, at the level of the garlanding the statues of Ambedkar, but when come to the substance level, statues is all right. When come to substance, philosophically, there is a problem, it is there, and all the kind of theory, the kind of opposition, the way vision of the just society, the way it is critical of the traditions, and also Hindu social order, and also mythology, and very particularly the arguing for the good society, just society is a problem. It is definitely it is not so easy, and there also to retaining that Ambedkar, even the Phule also very difficult for the recent times where that we can see. And let me see that one. It is apart from this one, our education system, you know it very well, where we are located, what kind of education it is there. And it is education from the beginning. It is in the not only for our country, other places also. It is under the control of the state, and also, if not state, it is a religion. Mostly that's why you can see the most of the religious missionaries also having in the control of the education is under their control for a long time. They don't want to allow any kind of the critical outlook. They don't want to allow the people to think on their own. They want to see in a different level. That's why we can see the one kind of the monitoring kind of techniques we can see in education. And it is not allow the education to people to question the systems and patterns, and it is compel us to conforming to the systems. And that's what we have seen for a long time. And then it is the philosophers are critical against this kind of approach for a long time. Even the people like pragmatic thinkers from the John Dewey to the Paulo Freire, or it is the contemporary anti-caste thinkers, or it may be. We can see that one, the way Dewey try talk about reconstruction of the society, Paulo Freire try talk about the conscientization of the society, the conscientization of the people, and that kind of education he try to look for. And the recent times, the way it is Dalit Bahujans and we can see for the critical pedagogy, the continuation of the tradition, they try to look for the transformatory pedagogy, and also one kind of emancipatory pedagogy also people try to look at. And the where it is said that the philosopher critical about the conventional education and its pedagogical practices, as it fails to develop an independent thinking of learners, and pedagogical practices are often mean-minded and hegemonic in orientations. And then the people like even I worked on J. Krishnamurti, and the people like even J. Krishnamurti also. We can't base him where we can either philosophy, nor sociology, nor independent thinkers, and we can't keep him to any kind of ideology. But there are people like him also. They believe that conventional. It is observed that, as Krishnamurti said, it is observed that conventional educational practice of encouragement of conform to a pattern is a hindrance to the students as a better human beings by cultivating the critical attitude against the prejudice, beliefs, and orthodox social values. The system makes us to confirm the pattern. Then where the purpose of education, it is a question, they allow cultivate the spirit of the questioning and independent learning, and that kind of things is very much is important. But it is, it is totally missing. It is then in this context. But apart from this one, forget about what kind of education we are having. But from the beginning, historically, the education is a monopoly of the where it is the social elite. Not only monopoly, and it's the privilege for them. And it not only privilege for them, it is denied and excluded to Dalits and tribal communities and larger masses, the way larger masses of the country, the where it is there, for them education is denied, keep them in ignorance, keep them in the darkness for a long time. That consciously happened. And from the Gurukula kind of knowledge systems to the where the people try to talk about the kind of education, and it is not allowed historically, not only allowed, the kind of humiliation, the horrible stories, you know it very well. The people try to listen Vedas, what happened, and the people who want to learn something, even the in absence of this thing, people like Shembukas, what happened, you know it very well. And it is not only education, not only access is not only denied, and it's also not only monopolized, and also the kind of education, whatever it is there, even though whatever it is there, either it is colonial time or post-colonial time or recent time, you can see used to control the masses that they used. And all. In this context, I would like to speak for the pedagogical practices, and where the pedagogical practices refers to methods, strategies, and approaches of the teachers to use or facilitate learning, and it is in terms of the pedagogical problems can be seen in terms of the curriculum, development of curriculum and classroom environment, the kind of language or medium of instruction, attitude of teachers, role of teachers, what to play, and more than that, the context where we are teaching, that is also equally important. And the way how the society, how it is, the knowledge is translated into education, and education, how it is becoming imparted, the instructed to the disseminated to the students. These also very serious issues are there. And it is of course it is there's no wonder to see that the most of the kind of the dominant the strategies, the pedagogical practice shaped by the ideologies, values, institutional structures, and social context, including the caste, class, gender, language. Definitely, these very particularly dominant concerns very often reflected, and by ignoring the marginalizing Dalits and subordinate communities, and rather than not only that one, and teachers rather than acting as agents of the change, and they forget that thing. They're in a classroom, they're located, and we can see the how consciously, unconsciously they carried with the prejudice rather than agents of the change. And in this context, I believe critical pedagogy plays a role and is response to the compared to the traditional kind of approaches. Critical pedagogy and a response to an oppression, and as a call for inclusive experience, and also arguing for the critical consciousness. In other way, it looks for the praxis. Praxis means not just abstract thinking or some kind of it, but it related to the life and also experiences from us, and the theories are experimented, validated through our experiences. And the critical, the Fall of a book, it very popular book, it very well. I'm known to explain to you. And it is he talk about the conscientization about attitude and of awareness, attitude. It refers to learning to perceive social, political, economic contradictions and to take action against the oppressive elements of the reality. The Fall of a race emphasis on praxis action and reflection upon the world in order to change. It is a crucial to the idea of dialogue and transformation. So education. Education is inherently political and works towards reducing human suffering of various kinds, with a focus on those from margins. That level is also making it as a political, and also it is a conscious, also it is a dialogue and also transformatory level, such like we talk about. It has to address the existing social inequalities, and also looks for some kind of change. That way, one can see that the kind of pedagogy must be political and ethical rather than neutral. Nothing like that neutral kind of things. It is a teacher want to play a neutral role, or it is the syllabus. It seems to be not like that. Is the pedagogy definitely it has it is inbuilt value system. It is there. So one has to see in the same level pedagogy must be political and ethical, not neutral and all. In this context, I believe that Phule and Ambedkar provide that ground that articulate from their own experiences, experiential reality for a radical, humanizing, anti-caste and feminist pedagogy. We can see not only Dalit, and also one can see to certain extent the internalize the feminist kind of concerns also can be seen either both in Phule and Periyar also. Phule and Ambedkar also, one can see that one. The way in a caste in India, the article, the before even coming to the existence of the discipline of sociology, suppose it has happened something like 1997 itself, the kind of existing scholarship about the social society and sociology, and the way he worked out, even till also now also we can feel it. Many people, ethnographic studies or colonial practices, the way they try to look at either some of the other scholars try to mention about the how they understood caste, and there the Ambedkar try to talk about not only the how caste is originated and not just for descriptive level and ethnographical studies. He want in order to as a victim of the caste, he want to read it as the idea of the caste, and also he try to look at the roots of the caste and all the way endogamy and for whose interest it is there. The kind of value system, not only talking about the origin mechanism of the caste system, and the kind of values it is carried forward. Today, we believe that thing as a part of Indian culture. We can see that one, the great values, sannyasa, or it is chastity, and other values it is there. What they try to, even though he tried to see it later, people say, see it is a problem. The way the early child marriages, sati and all, these are believe that thing as a value system. But where Ambedkar tried to see these are the social, it actually came as a byproduct of the kind of caste system. And in that way, not only caste and also patriarchy, how it is as a common ground, and his works out. And there, the starting point should be there. The way that kind of at least may have limitations. At least that kind of approach, even till recent time, also we can't find out. Even the social, I don't know how far the people talking about Indian society, they maybe try to look at this kind of approaches of Ambedkar. Or even similarly, the people like Phule. Phule is long back, he tried to look for the not only society, what should be the good society. He understood that society where we are living, it is some kind of the servitude it is there. Servitude in the sense it is, that's the title itself, you know it very well, Gulamgiri, slavery. How slavery is sustained through the philosophy of the Smritis, philosophy of Dharmasastras, philosophies of the Puranas. There we can see the very particularly mythology, the incarnation of the god. It is not incarnation of the god to sustain the hegemony of the Brahminical hegemony for a long time, and I maintain the continuity. They may came with the different avatars, but other level he tried to talk about who are the whom they fought, whose interest. They're not only making the kind of this kind of literature, philosophy, making more historical, and also rational and also ethical. Rational, historical, ethical concerns, moral concerns are very much it is there in the kind of either Phule and Ambedkar. That's why I believe this kind, not just because of the Phule or Ambedkar, it is loved most by the Dalits or oppressed communities. And the way, as a for the methodology or as a pedagogical level, I believe it is important. And let me come to the point. I don't know, still it is how egalitarian, the kind of questions in recent times against the kind of academia we are living in. The people like Gopal Guru, he tried to talk about how egalitarian our social sciences is. He tried to talk about, and the way he tried to kind of divide, he can know it very well. The way it is the theoretical Brahmins and empirical Sudras, how theory is developed, and also abstract thinking, like that. The way philosophy is a privilege of the few people. And you can ask, Ambedkar also allowed anybody, you may call him a great social reformer, political leader, constitutional maker. It's not a problem. And making as a philosopher is a problem. That means you can understand the privileges identified with the kind of the roles also as a philosophy. Philosophy means one kind of abstract thinking. And there you don't want to allow abstraction, still the thinking process, and that level they want to control their one. And he is very particular about that one. Somebody prepared the theory, and others, the research scholars working under this, and they have to carry forward the experiment at the field level, like that it is there. Exactly same level. One more thing, it is talking about the 150 years of experience of the Gopal Guru's teaching. It I talk about. Then similarly, Indian social sciences represent the pernicious divide between theoretical Brahmins and empirical Sudras. And then Vivek Kumar also tried to talk about, he's a faculty of the sociology. Then after, suppose he is in 2002, he raised the question how egalitarian of social sciences studies in India. Vivek Kumar, how egalitarian is Indian sociology? From his discipline, he tried to respond from 2016. Then how apart from the domination of the twice born of different levels observed after reflecting 100 years of sociology in India, apart from the domination in the form of the people practicing sociology, then dominations are not only the people. For historical, it is happened. Other people are not studied. One way you may say historical extent. Many people might be there from the belongs to social allied. Not only that one, domination also reflected in the methodology, epistemology, and pedagogy of the subject of sociology. That's what he tried to say, that one is how it is represented. And the theories from the privileged position and the non-representation of the Dalits and their experiences is an issue. It is for the recent time people are doing. Apart from this one, Indian social, that way it is Indian sociology reflects only partial reality of Indian society. That is one argument. The other level is that even though people who are happen to be the professors who have started many schools, different schools, it very well, structuralist, functionalist, and later textual study or field study. These different approaches are there, but there also what kind of approaches, what kind of concepts, what kind of theories, whether that theories captures the social reality, that is a challenge. The way Gopal Guru in an article long back has written, 1993, that is the time where Dalit movement is in a very commanding stage. And the Dalit movement in mainstream sociology has written book. The concept and language used to understand the Dalit movement is a liberal and limited. The concept like social mobility, relative deprivation, reference group, and these kind of things, they believe that thing you can't capture the reality. But we know all our social sciences debates, we are knowingly or unknowingly, and all the people has revolves around that one. Social, talking about the issues of the social mobility, relative deprivation, and also otherwise the Sanskritization. And these kind of things, relative deprivation monopoly performs very important function. What the purpose, you can understand that one. If you look at closely, the relative deprivation and social mobility performs very important function for the stability of the system. They don't want to see the disturbance. They want to see brings the thing to equilibrium and all. Any kind of rebelness, they see the deviation. Then making a system that such level only they try to look at to the either any mobility rather than questioning the system, and they're looking alternative politics are there. And that level they don't want to see. They don't want to understand that one. It is the people come from the known categories anyway. It is there. Now, however, there we can see the journey from Gulamgiri to Sadharma, or from untouchable to Dalit, from concession to confrontation. This is a phrase of concession to confrontation, J. Sri Gokhale. And stigma to assertion and cultural to the political. The debates earlier seen the caste as a cultural code. Now it is become political. Such level, now we can see the importance of the debates of the very importance of the Phule and Phule and Ambedkar kind of things. But you know it very well, the kind of details of that one. Either it is the functionalist theory and structuralist theory, or MNC Invas and Dumo, what they try to talk about. And at least we know it very well. How the reference point is that Sanskritization. The same thing. They want to make they try to see explain the mobility within the caste hierarchy. Their views often downplay the caste-based oppression and violence, focus more on social order than justify, or on rather than justice or inequality. The functionalist approach, they try to account each caste has to do their functions. Ultimately, we are looking for some kind of stability. That they don't want to see that one. Structuralist approach also, the underlying some kind of symbolic and cultural structures are there. They try to understand the things from the structures and the way the binaries of position, pure and impurity of structure of caste relations. And that level, they were, apart from, they were trying to essentialize the caste system in terms of hierarchy, the Domos argument, purity and pollution, how they try to talk about. How in all these things, either M.N. Srinivas or it is the Dumo, the kind of idealizing the Brahminical perspective, ignoring the caste as a system of material inequality, and maybe as a cultural level, they never try to see some other point of view, but we can't. Even though they try to talk about in village studies and also the way the village where they located, lens of the kind of research is not focused on the experience of others. They're not allowed to that one, and you know it very well. So what kind of data they generated, how they theorize, that is also an issue. I don't want to discuss and all. Against this kind, even people, somebody try to talk about the identifying the caste as a reshaped by the Nicholas Dirks argues that one, it is hardened by the colonial rule, opened, and that way they try to talk about, or some other people try to discourse, keep the discourse in terms of tradition and modernity. Of course, in modernization, caste is not a rigid, and essentializing is not the qualities. It is also continuously changing with the times, and also it also appropriate in the changing modernity also. And like that, many people try to talk about. But the essential level, the way they don't want to see the anti-caste struggles and also the potential for transformation of the society, the kind of structural inequalities involved, and how the new kind of society they imagine, new politics, new society, that thing, some way it is missed, even including the Marxist sociologists, you know it very well. They try to see it as a superstructure, and they see it is their more concern is about the economy, economic structure, economic base. They don't see the same problem. However, the scholars like that, even Gopal Guru, Ailaya, Vivek, and it is there's some other people, they're critical for that one. Somebody try to talk about epistemic injustice. People like Ailaya, they're argued for that one. We are the productive classes, how productive classes are marginalized, and they need to be bring back to this kind of knowledge systems into our curriculum. And next it is the future. He tried to Dalit Bahujans produce food, tools, and ideas, but are never recognized as a thinkers. He further says that the future belongs to those who produce food, not those who produce mantras. Such level he tried to provoke that one, the way the importance of knowledge, not only apart from this one, in debating the caste, the people like the Galo Mate, Eleanor Juliet, some of the people, Rosalind Hanlon, they bring some kind of discourses related to the caste, and also that way also some space it is generated. And as I told, it is Jayshree Gokhale also emphasized the caste not as a cultural difference, but a system of social and economic exploitation. She how the way her studies on the Phule and later the education as a revolutionary act, they identify the importance of education, and the way from the Phule and later the Ambedkar also I talk about the kind of questions it is there, the people, this kind of alternative positions, the new who produce knowledge, who experiences are considered valid academic sources, how does caste operate within intellectual and pedagogical spaces, how egalitarian knowledge system, this kind of issues are very much it is there. And in this process, I believe that one, talking about the pedagogy and also alternative pedagogy of the praxis of the Phule and Ambedkar, pedagogy as a practice, not as a theory. And this practice also, it is subscribed, and also very often it is also keeping for discussion for you, for sociology students very well. You know it very well. Sharmila Rege, she want to make the Phule, Ambedkar, and feminist also she try to add that one. And that from that perspective, she try to engage this kind of approach. It is there where I did believe that thing. The explain how Phule and Ambedkar brought together emancipatory, non-Vedic material traditions of Lokayata, Buddha, Kabir, and new Western ideas of Thomas Paine, John Dewey, and Karl Marx. The educational philosophy of Phule and Ambedkar challenged the binaries of Western modernity and Indian tradition, private caste, gender, public nation, and thereby rethinking modernity and idea of education. And you know it very well when talking about discussing about the modernity. People maybe know the problem with the tradition. People who are critical about the tradition, but they know the caste is a problem. But when talking about the modern, they need to be mobilization, modernization, education they required. But when come to the modernity, the where in academic discourses, and they try to, in Indian lecture, they try to keep the maintain silence about the talking, particularly about the caste. Caste up the domination of the caste, one can question that one. That also they don't want to talk. The discourse related to the caste. And what is the exploitation technique? They don't want to talk about caste. This let us keep silence about the caste. Best example is that which are the modern product of modernity is a cinema, and the way they totally silence about the caste it is there. That some way the same kind of attitude is maintained by the upper caste intellectuals. Some way they don't want to talk, even though they thought that sensitive, delicate, but at the same time they carrying the caste. Our thinking is conditioned, we are carried by the caste. But very conveniently, they as if nothing is there, they try to silent about that one, even the people who are having the but where the people like the Ambedkar and Phule, they're real modernists. They try to talk about not only inculcate the spirits of rationality, questioning the tradition and dogmatism, and also kind of textual approach, where it is a dogmatic textual kind of approach. They're critical about that one. And then they try to give the different kind of approach. More than that, it is also emancipatory and also morally loaded, and more than that, it is try to question the system, and is also to look for some new kind of system which based on equality, liberty, and fraternity. In other way, we can call it as a egalitarianism. And where if you look at Phule, I try to talk about his critique of the Brahminical order, you know it very well, and how he places the importance of education. That is the time, 1850s and 60s, we people try to talk about social reformers, but there, the social reformers, the reformers confined to the reformation of the family. The family also maybe the dominant caste families only it is the concern, that kind of issue of sati and other kind of thing, early child marriages. The way so real social reform means where people like Ambedkar or people like Phule, they identify talking about the caste and also against the caste system, annihilation of the caste. That is the way they try to talk about the way the discussions about the caste system, that how caste become what played a role of the slavery, making the people to slavery, against that kind of thing, and they're arguing for some kind of the moral society. They're arguing that one. Both they believe that one, the monopoly of knowledge, how it is there, and at the time the people don't have the experience of education. The where Phule tried to talk about. Phule tried to argue for the education, Sudras and Sutras, not only not allowed access is negated, and how these people played a role, and his wife also Savitribai Phule, how started open for as a people try to talk about as a first woman teacher. That kind of they give the importance to the education. Their education, that is the first time experiencing education. And then in the process, they understood that on the kind of education, whatever is gained, lot of cunningness it is there, and exploitation it is there. That's what they observed. And he went to the level of Ambedkar, the Phule I talk about. We demanded Hunter Commission or British government. He argued that one, we need education, more and more schools is required. But at the same time, not with the Brahmin teachers should not be there. Don't give money to these people, Brahmin classes, since they are not only manufacturing lies and exploiting the Dalits and Sudras, and they're not qualified. Further, it is a problematic, and also the kind of opportunities they're getting. And at the same time, they're not allowing us to be studied. And that way we can see the alternative kind of education where the Phule try to talk about. Very particularly, the way is critical about the myths, how myths are generated and how to control the society through the myths. And the way is critical about the myths, and the kind of the other knowledge systems, alternative knowledge system, how we try to talk about that is very much it is one can look at that one. He tried Brahmins has cunningly contrived to keep the Sudras ignorant so as to make them content with their lowly status. And it is that's what I can see that one when come to the Ambedkar is a continuation of the Phule, where you can see the Ambedkar. Ambedkar can be seen, it is, you know the slogan, the Ambedkar identified the importance of education. education as a moral weapon, he tried to talk about. For a long time, people are kept in ignorant. And he tried to, the popular slogan itself, educate, agitate, and organize and all. It reflects the deep belief in the power of education as a tool for liberation. It is not for just for knowing and understanding, and also he tried to talk about it for the power. It is also the power and also development of the personality. You know it very well. The people debasement of personality is carried in the name of the caste. And caste system doesn't allow the people to mingle. There, Ambedkar's interesting point one can look at the basic level, what you're talking about, the sociology, people try to talk about the Indian society, and Indian society also imagined society. They thought for a long time as Hindu social order is a mythical and textual, and in reality we can't find out totally different it is there. And where Ambedkar tried to talk about the society, the characters of society, tried to talk about and all. The society means, social means, where he tried to talk about where people can participate and people can share suffering and pain and also joy and living together, one kind of the endosmosis, one kind of communication society, communication, one kind of associated life. That is a society. And that way people carry, nurtured through the tradition of the democratic culture, with reason, the public culture, public reason should be there. That is missing. That's why caste is an anti-social, you know it very well. Not only anti-social, that's the Hinduism as a religion carrying this kind of the sanctity God for this caste system through the Hinduism. That way, Hinduism is not even qualified in religion. Such level he make a point and all because of his anti-social spirit. His argument is that he tried to argue society in a righteous, which guarantees the righteous social life. That's why very often he's critical about does Hinduism recognize equality, does it recognize the fraternity, does it recognize the liberty, these kind of principles very often he try to discuss about that. One ultimate concern is that I know I will wind up within 2-3 minutes. And Ambedkar's philosophy is a deeply transformative. Education was not only about literacy or employment, but about the dignity, liberation, and annihilation of the caste. His legacy is a foundational for any pedagogy that seeks to be truly democratic, inclusive, and emancipatory. His ultimate point is that cultivation of mind should be ultimate aim of human existence. He rejects the idea of knowledge as a divine or scriptural authority. Instead, he rooted his pedagogy in rationality, critical inquiry, and secularism. Ambedkar introduces a pedagogy that challenges the caste hierarchies and systemic oppression. His pedagogy centers the experiences and struggles of the marginalized and promotes the critical thinking over the religious dogma, emphasize the constitutional values which were today adopted, that is equality, liberty, and fraternity. I believe this is not so easy. That's why there's a need to be we so far what we thought as education, what we are thought knowledge, one has to deconstruct, dissect, decode that one more than for the deconstruction, decode of this, what is the dominant knowledge systems, what you are so far informed. There's a need of more than learning. There's a need of the hour is that there's need of unlearning is also very much important. And more than that one is a classroom kind of thing. I don't want to explain this one. The classroom kind of the operation, problem, strategy, and making the silence. There's a mute spectators, they can't speak. And in the name of language, English has played a role, and how using a silent tool to kill the creativity of the most of the people. Apart from the theoretical challenges and where as I told you, the caste has to be debated seriously in a classroom, and also much more capture the comprehensive understanding of caste society, Indian society is very much is required, and various dynamisms and also structural inequalities, exploitation taking places. Caste is also how relation of the caste and the religion and also the kind of the knowledge systems equally one has to take into consideration by against that one to have the good society, just society, and it is when you have the education means we want to make the democratic kind of democracy as the primary function of our education, where it is a different multicultural and multi-different groups are there is a challenging task, even the pedagogical level, but we never experience, we never try to talk about that one, such kind of thing. And only confined to Dalit activity. Dalit research scholars they will do. Dalit teachers they are given to them, and the Dalit scholar will be there, and the kind of data also from there it is there. You never try to see as a part of the larger kind of the nation concerns and also public concerns to make society much more human and democratic, and such kind of education is required. I believe that is there, and but at the same time we can see the kind of the where we are located, the context, the social context and political context. It is some against that kind of situation, the intellectual classes has to be come forward and they make the way for the good society. I believe it is not just because of these the alternative Phule pedagogy, not just as the seminar topic or not as a just one kind of Dalit studies, some aspect it is there and all, but as a overall to reconstruction society and also society as a whole, as a knowledge to generate the to be qualified to be the good academics, and also making our kind of academics is much more, we want to get the much more validity and much more the normative acceptability is there is required. For that, definitely there's no other way other than that one has to see the alternative critical pedagogical practice as Phule and Ambedkar, and also, and I believe this may helps us to be, it is not so easy, it is a very challenging task, you know it very well, but there's some kind of initiation is required, very much is required to have the, to at least keep in a good, so even if you're not there, society is compelling us to do this one and all, and they're creating the alternative knowledge systems is very much is available in system and all. No need to come to, and they themselves can be enriched by that one, at least to the struggles and their knowledge it is there and all. The point is that at least universities to take note of that kind of knowledge systems, at least a high on the what is happening in our society, what kind of struggles are there. That is more than the patient empathetic eye is important. That is more than enough to strengthen our kind of academic discourse. Thank you.
Friends, we have followed the lecture by Professor P. KESAVA, an excellent and very insightful lecture with philosophical connotations presenting the educational aspects, particularly in the Indian education system and also knowledge system. Friends, before we open this house for this occasion for question and answer, I would like to present the biodata of Professor KESAVA, which we reserved it for presenting in the last. If you allow me, I will present Professor KESAVA's biodata. A good friend of mine since about 35 to 40 years. Professor KESAVA is a professor of philosophy in the Department of Philosophy, University of Delhi. He received his doctorate from the University of Hyderabad for his thesis entitled J.D. Krishnamurthy's Conception of Tradition and Revolution, a critical study. He also received his postdoctorate degree for his research on political philosophy of Ambedkar. Friends, Professor KESAVA worked in the regional center of IGNO as an assistant director first. Then he had the experience of working in the Department of Philosophy, Pondicherry University, Pondicherry. Now he has been the professor of philosophy in the Faculty of Arts, University of Delhi from 2015 onwards. Professor KESAVA has inculcated his areas of interest, which include contemporary Indian philosophy, ethics, social and political philosophy, philosophy of religion, cultural studies, continental philosophy, philosophy of technology, Dalit studies, and social movement. Friends, Professor P. KESAVA has taught a range of subjects which include philosophical foundations of contemporary social movements and also research methodology, biopolitics and philosophy, materialistic reading of Indian philosophy are the few I can read here. Professor KESAVA has published almost 50 has brought out almost 50 publications, which include books, edited books, research articles, poetic compilations, etc. He is a prolific writer in Telugu also. Recently, he has published a couple of books which have been released in the place called Tenali near Vijayawada. In fact, this occasion has received very good. It has been acknowledged very well. Friends, with this brief introduction, I will open this house for discussion and for any questions also, with the permission of the speaker.
May I ask a question, please?
Please, sir, please.
Oh, Namaskar, Keshavji. I am Alok Tandon, and thank you.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste, and thank you very much for a very lucid presentation of a counter perspective regarding education, pedagogy, and especially focused on Phule, Ambedkar, and really, I must say, with the focusing on a central idea of emancipation, which is, I think, common to whole lot of ancient thinkers, to Phule, Ambedkar, and further you can talk about Gopal Guru, etc. So, but I have a question. The question is that if we observe Indian society and leave aside the upper caste and look into the Dalits and observe the women and the men Dalits who still perform the Brahminical religious rites, ceremonies, and live according to the Brahminical traditions. So, and especially I am talking about the northern states in which I live. So it becomes very, very much, I must say, difficult to understand which type of critical pedagogy will be effective in this situation where the hold of mythological religion is so supreme that nobody likes to listen to such type of alternative perspective. And one thing related to this is also that given the educational system and the political dispensation under which this educational system is working, can you see any possibility of treating or practicing this type of critical pedagogy in the classroom? Thank you.
Thank you, Alokji. And yes, you are right. It is the larger number of the people, at least they want to, they practicing the some kind Dalits practicing the Brahminical ceremony. That is, it is a very, there's a, Dalits has a very ambivalent relation towards the tradition or religion. And one way they don't identify it, but other level, they also, they want to have the differentiating. That is also very much it is there. In a public, they believe that thing, it is a power. The way identification, it gives some more strength. And, you know, not only this one, the way the people, even though the people, it is identified with the dominant icons, all the film stars, or it is political parties, which is rather than talking about some of the political parties talking on behalf of them, rather than that one, why it is happening and all. With the, they see the larger level, public level, some kind of the power associated, and by identifying with the powerful, and they also try to get some kind of power. That is one level it is there. As I told, when talking about the critical pedagogy, my point is that yes, to a certain extent, we can't expect, even though if you look at the historically, the medieval level, the more the most of the subaltern philosopher saints, we can see either Kabir, Revira Brahmam, or even the most of the artisan, the sadhus, yogis, saint from the artisan communities, we can see that one. They are also try to identify with the largely with the religion, the way Hinduism, but at the same time, they try to present in different level and all. Where the Hinduism, they talk Bhakti movement, they talk about some kind of spiritual equality by using the same principles they're using for the everyday equal, the where the sign of some social justice kind of thing, questioning they're demanding equality in a material level. And but if generally people try to, if you look at closely that way, it looks like same thing. They are also following. It is mostly following the continuous of the religion. It is that is a problem. It is not exactly religion. The slight difference will be there. That is also same kind of the ritual is played by these people. Also, it is there. It is a lot of difference. It is there. Even though they are identified the same kind of the God, it is not the easy to enter into the temples. You know it very well. Dalits entering into the temples of the Hindu, even though they voluntarily they are participating and they are doing there with a lot of dedication, and it is not so easy. That level one has to see the closely the kind of the cultural context, social context, where living existential problems and identification, negotiating with the power. At the same time, slight difference it is there. That is one level. My point is, I'm not subscribing to such a level. I also equally looking at there's other way to look at that one. As I told, pedagogy is a political act, I told. Pedagogy is an ethical act, I told. The critical pedagogy, they're definitely critical. When they're critical, then they're critical about religion. They're critical about the kind of the textual kind of the kind of they try to expose it. They kind of the contradictions involved with that one, the kind of hypocrisy, the kind of exploitation it is there. And at the same time, not only questioning the other one, and also they're arguing for themselves and all. What is the assertion and the power, and these things also equally involved. And that is the actual level I'm trying to talk about. That kind of approach it is there. This will come directly, it won't come under this kind of politicization. People try to talk about the stigma. It is that is the untouchability stigma, where you people are identifying with the still caste and all. Let us not talk about the without undergoing understanding that one, we can't talk for the assertion and all. Assertion come from only through the understanding experience it is there. That I believe one kind of the process, that is one stage only I'm trying to look at that one. But other level, there is a possibility to come out. But where people still remain such level, there is no still that level means that is also one of the aspect it is there, but I don't see that kind of I subscribe the other idea which has a politically and ethically potential kind of pedagogy. That kind of approach I try to look for there.
Thank you.
Any other question? Hello. Yeah, Professor Tanmay Bhattacharya.
Okay. Hello, KESAVA. Thank you for thank you for a very insightful talk, and especially about the Dalit epistemology knowledge system. I wish you could talk more about that. But I have a question. I mean, it's not a question very central to your talk, but this question is little problematic. This is a question about Dalit electoral politics. So electoral politics has its own restrictions, own compulsions, compromises, and we have also seen the history of the politics, the thing that happened in, let's say, Uttar Pradesh, and we have also seen other repeated parties, the fringe, you can say fringe parties of political parties, Dalit parties. It's not about like Dalit persons in the major parties, but actually properly Dalit parties. There are some fringe politics, but it is never made that kind of mark and or continued success. Like Mayawati's, you can say Mayawati's governance was a success, most successful story. But is there a problem with it, like Dalit movement and Dalit identification, Dalit rebellion? It does not really sit very comfortably with Dalit, let's say, electoral politics. So, what is your thought on that?
Yeah, thank you, Tanmay. Tanmay is our colleague here in Delhi University, is a professor and head of linguistic department. And also, we also studied together, like with Mohammad and Nagaraju and others also there. We are all together studied. Tanmay also is. Yeah, the Dalit movement and also electoral failure, rather than failure, is not successful in this one. You know the reasons very well. And the kind of arithmetic, it is people try to talk about the SC, ST, OBC kind of matrix, it works out. And similarly, all the working class, it is not only with the Dalit politics, and equally the politics of the class struggles also, which you try to talk about the working classes coming together and all. They always claims as a majority, 80%, and also, but at the same time, and come to that, is why it is come to the power seems to be difficult. And that is a serious issue. One has to look closely what are the conditions favorable for them to come to the power or not there, and how to alliances are worked out. That is an issue. It is there various conditions are there. Very particularly, people are looking at the power in the sense looking at the political power and also getting the seats and majority level. There's always danger. It is there. I don't know how far we'll be succeeded. That is an issue. Even though unless until some kind of particular conditions like that wherein UP it is created. And it is not so easy to get the consolidated this, kind of political context where we are living in it very well. And how the democracy theoretically possible, practically how it is impossible for us ordinary people. And not only my argument is that it is not only looking at, always people try to look at the political power and organization and getting the seats and winning over elections. And when they failed and they feel disappointed, then we thought that it is gone case, it is over like that. That problem it is there. My point is that a power has to be seen. It is not only seen everyday struggles and assertion, contestation and organizing that level. It is the people are gave up that kind of approach. That is one issue. Other issue is know it very well and all. How the kind of the politics what we are talking about today, the politics of emancipation and politics of the people, some way it is they have some kind of difficult stage we can see to that and all, where we can the political not only political arithmetic and the kind of language. It is a very populist politics, which you're talking about. The democracy is dubbed as a popularism and populism. And in the name of populism, where the majoritarianism is taken over, and in the process, negating the other people, it is there and all, where it is Dalits, minorities, not only negating, and also they try to project as a enemy. Such a level it is there. This is a dangerous kind of situation. That is the context where it is there. Along with this one, this kind of the majoritarianism, democracy duping, majoritarian duping as a democracy one level. This is coincide with or hand in glove with the kind of the neoliberalism. This is create the politics is impossible for the people. It is there. How it is there? Because of the repression and surveillance and authority. Now any kind of questioning and also the consolidation, solidarity seems to be impossible. And they not only one way it is fragmented, other way they made it is impossible in the name of culture, in the name of nation, in the name of some other level it is there and all. But however, it will definitely size sporadic level. We can see the struggles here and there. We have seen the farmers movement. We have seen Shaheen Bagh, some other level. That kind of small mobilization it is there. I don't think that mobilization won't go waste. It may not be translated into the electoral level, but at the same time, it also has the power. People who are contesting, people who are students who are contesting against the some kind of syllabus, not this one. We want to hold this one. And this also equally matters. It may, in long run, how far you are consolidated, how alliances are making, that plays an important role. In civil society, at least we can make that kind of initiation. That may affect over the period of time. That's why we can see the elections, which seems to be today is powerful. Within no time, we seen that forces seems to be irrelevant. Till then, we thought that is very powerful forces there. Nobody can question is a strong leader, strong kind of like that. It is there. But within no time, we can see the spontaneous fall of the sporadic level and spontaneous fall of this kind of situation also there. I believe at least we can look at the politics is there. The such level of politics make some kind of space for us rather than we ourselves is disappointing. And politics means it has to be there, win over the elections and all. That is a problem. Even the political parties coming, how far successful and to bring the agenda of this one, the same question it is there. Dalits are most of the people, even to be, is it possible to be conscientized and also overcome releasing from the clutches of the Brahmanism? That is a serious problem. And similarly, the political level also, how far they're successful also, this is a challenge.
Very nice. Thank you.
Any other question, please?
Shall I ask?
Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I'm Pramod Deshpande, working on Phule Ambedkar philosophy, educational philosophy. My question to you, the epistemological injustice done by Brahminical knowledge system that lead the epistemological despotism. Do you think that in present context, in what extent we can dismantle it and develop critical caste curriculum theory? Thank you.
Yeah, even at least still we are at the level of the raising the question only. At least even that question is to raise that question also took long time and all. There is some gaps are there in our knowledge systems, and if there's a lot of injustice has done, our knowledge system is not recognized and not represented. To make the Phule and Ambedkar into the even the known figures and all, and even to make them and also it is equally there historically and their presence it is there and their kind of scholarship it is there. Even to make them to be into the part of syllabus, it become a very difficult. And even this difficult also make it as a very marginal level only we try to include that one. Even when come to the teaching, I don't know whether teachers will teach it in a choice, it will go. I think that also. Even the other thinkers, other portions will be there. But at the same time, then first of all, it is today is the same question it is there. The Dalit discourses, it is over, sir, people used to talk about it. And since it is, we have seen Dalit movement, it is not there. Dalit political parties are not succeed and all. And very particularly, the people used to talk, long back we told, sir, these people are not serious, they are not, their struggles are not serious like that used to say. But one should not forget that one, the question they raised, either Bahujan Samaj Party or it is the in Dalit intellectuals they raised the idea of the caste, how it is we not Dalits are not represented, Dalit experience is not represented. And doesn't even though Dalits has to come, even they not be coming to a political power over for the people who raised that one. But still it is unanswered. The question is still it is the relevance is there. Similarly, the very feminist kind of questions also. Movements may be weak. That is the where we can see this kind of questions making sense and also is compelling us to people that the movements may not be there. That still questions are relevant is a responsibility of the people to make it that one. That is why I believe. And definitely there is a way to people today we are having this meeting. And many of the people like that, CP, like even Nagaraj and Mohammad or even KUMAR or so many other people continuously they're writing some form or other in the known platforms. This is the Indian Sociological Association today. It is not the space for a long time. In the public platform they're discussing, sociology conference they're discussing and all. even though from their own positions and all, whatever the positions they're taken and all, it creates the space. It is some kind of epistemology. That is what we are arguing. The space is not there. We are trying to give the space. Slowly, it is broadened. It may be rebutted and also maybe critically people maybe say that one, since my English is not good and also not sophisticated, it is there. I'm not a foreign written degree and my kind of writings are not in the well-valued journals may not be there. Maybe in a roadside, some kind of the public popular journal I may be written and will not be valued. But it is if not today, tomorrow it will take over and all. Definitely, that's the people today, they feel uncomfortable. Even the other people, even though they are not concerned about this thing, they are not doing about that one. That uncomfort is created by the Dalit intellectuals. Dalit intellectuals they created. That's why I believe the epistemic justice, it is not easy to resolve, and but at the same time that by taking note of that one, it is the people also not that much. It is even whether they like it or not. Suppose we started the course, some kind of course on philosophy of Ambedkar. Others may not like it. I try to introduce Phule or Periyar or something like that. Some other department, something there. In a process, it is expanding, reaching the people and all, expanding and all. Same people, what he's teaching, I'm also teaching in the same department like that. It is there and all. That level, some to certain extent, we can minimize the gap and bridging and also we can negotiate it, mediation. It is directly or indirectly happening and all. This is a process, I believe, and all. We can't today. So totally, the class will be totally different and democratic, and the teacher will be totally changed and all, totally de-Brahmanized, and also. The Dalit also totally identifying with the Dalit students, and I don't think it will happen. It's a process. It is a process. We are also traveled in this process. We undergone these experiences. It is not just theory, not the seminar, not a one kind of talk and all. We are also influenced, undergone this kind of situation, and it may have influence. I think that is how far you are succeed. Time will decide. And that I don't think it will go waste. It is history. It is a process. History means it is a continuous change. It will be there. It is. I believe that is still the raising the question. It has importance. It is there, and it may take some more time to make us ourselves democratic.
So, Mohammad sir, I have some point.
Please, Professor Nagaraju, please. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. First of all, I'm extremely thankful to Mohammad sir for inviting Professor KUMAR Anna. As some of you already aware, Mohammad sir gave.
There is some problem in your internet.
Introduction about Professor KUMAR sir. Way back to 1990s, we have started a circling. Am I?
Yes.
Am I audible? Am I audible? Yeah. So Keshav brother was one of the first scholar to start the pedagogy of Protestant epistemology. I feel it's like a Protestant epistemology, which was very, very even unheard way back to 90s. So therefore, I feel that he is like a Charvaka of Indian philosophy, Charvaka of 20th century Indian philosophy. He was like a founder of the critical school of thought. He was the first person to start the Dalit Manifesto, a collection of writings on Dalit poems in 1990s. He was like a great inspiration for people like us. We were young students, PG students at that time. And from 1990s to even now, he has been continuing the same academic tempo, and he's always inspiring us. And he's one of the few scholars who writes both in English and Telugu. He has a love for literature, he has a love for philosophy. And the beauty of this lecture, though because of some other meeting I could not attend the entire lecture, I could not hear the entire lecture, but I attended the last point. What I noticed is that his teachings and writings always presents the philosophy of praxis and praxis of philosophy. I think that's where I see a kind of the Marx as well as Hegel on the one hand, and Phule and Ambedkar on the other hand. So it's like a rarest of rare combination. Professor KUMAR Anna primarily represents. We are really thankful to you, Keshav Anna, for accepting the request of Research Committee of Indian Sociological Society. And it's a very wonderful to listen to you. And we are listening to you is like a kind of great education. Thank you very much, sir, Mohammad sir, once again for inviting KESAVA. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nagaraj. He's a friend, that's why they always talk good about us.
No, sir. You deserve, sir. You deserve. Because as the previous caller has rightly asked, see, out of Dalit scholars who became professors, who became part of the academic levels, but hardly 5% of the scholars were devoting to the critical epistemology and critical pedagogy because of their unwillingness to, let's say, reveal their identity, and because of their, let's say, inability to reclaim the academic spaces. And though they want to use Dr. B.R. Ambedkar as like a safeguard, but they don't want to follow the academic spirit of Ambedkar and a kind of the pedagogy of protest unleashed by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. I think that's where, sir, we really love your mode of approach to philosophy as well as praxis. That's why we love you and we admire your teachings and writings and also poems. Thank you.
Yeah. If Dr. Keshav Kumar wants to respond, or
No, it's all right. It is only compliment. No,
I have small clarification, Dr. Keshav.
yeah, please.
We have the praxis of Phule and Ambedkar, like perspectives to understand the classroom teaching and the kind of pedagogical practices today. But what I understand is that the tempo, the momentum that has been taken place with regard to understanding these kind of practices and these kind of practices, piercing them into the society and the minds of the people. There is a on and off. There is a break. It's going forward, and the moment is going forward and coming back. So, given this, how do we maintain a balance, maintain a kind of tempo in this movement of teaching the praxis of Ambedkar and Phule kind of things.
Yeah, it is, as I told you, it is, we can write independent talks and where like the online lectures where I can't see the people, that level is all right. I can write some seminar papers. But real challenge is there in a classroom situation. Classroom situation, it is not we are not teaching to the list. We are teaching to the class, is the multicultural, multilingual, multi-people, it is there. They're already, we are set up. These students are not mute and all. They are also come with their knowledge. Generally, they are not tabula rasa. They come with the knowledge. They come with their own social positions and all. Make them to be debate about that one. It is not so easy and all. Very particularly issues like that caste to gender to certain extent we can see to that that kind of gender issue is happen to be it is cutting across the people might be there and all. More Dalits and upper caste and different religious groups also will be there. The gender to certain extent we can negotiate and all. Even that also problem, but we can gender issues and as feminist concerns, it can be seen feminist pedagogies. That kind of privilege, they also lead some kind of, but when it comes to the caste, it is not so easy and all to convince. And when you expect talking about in a classroom, I used to open the discussion or talk. The students feel is a problematic to speak in front of the caste and all. That is a problem. Whom we believe that one. I want to how to be emancipation, liberative level. It should be there. In a classroom kind of situation, Dalit students feel it is a problematic. Even though I'm addressing the question, for at the same time, other fellow. He seems to be generally is against that one. Why you talking about against the casteism, against the Brahmanism? We are critical about that one. It is not so easy. The other people to come forward also. It is not so easy. But at the same time, there where the teacher has to be play a creative role. And also, generally, most of the teacher himself also, definitely teacher also has some caste and class, some kind of gender at least might be there and all. but he has to play a creative role and also unbiased role he has to play and allow the people, first of all, you have to allow the people to think and discuss and whatever it is there, rather than imposing on our own understanding, let us have revolution, let us have the casteless society and all that one. Let us see, they allow the people to think on their own and whatever they understood their social position, from there you need to be have some kind of discussion has to be initiated. Even though while discussing about certain issue doesn't mean that totally the exam level already they can do right good, nice, good. When the fellow who is happened to be the very oppressed student, oppressor, he can get the gold medal, he can good 90 marks, he can get it. Dalit who is happened to be the problem it is there, I'm teaching the philosophy of Ambedkar, that fellow sometimes he is not even in a position to pass also. This kind of situations will be there, dilemmas and paradoxical situation is there and all. There one has to be played a creative role and some kind of the keeping as a concerns of the democracy and egalitarian or some other level, this is required, or moral kind of concerns. And that level we can bring that one. Even the same, that level we can, to certain extent, we can be succeeding, the kind of pedagogy. Next level, even at least some of the texts, at least most of the time we are telling that the texts are not there enough, which is representative of this kind of Dalit or feminist or some kind of text where it is there, it is not there. That is one level. Even with the engaging, I believe it is immediately may not be affected. The teachers, the students may be affected. But first of all, this rather not discussing the making as a sensitive issue, let us not discuss the cost, which is open that one. Let the people take decisions. Doesn't mean that totally students will be changing their opinion. But some classroom kind of situation, common concerns will be there, some exchange of values, there's a possibility to change and they may think about it, not totally agreeing for some of the aspect it will be, that will be there. Best example I can tell you that in Hyderabad University, when we are studying, there the students' movements are there. Some of us, we try to struggle certain issues, some making some kind of issues. When the people who are not part of that one, maybe critical at the time also, when going out of the university, they used to say that one, they used to acknowledge, they used to say that one, even that kind of struggles are there. Knowingly, unknowingly, they also dragged. Society means like this, knowledge means, university means like this, the struggle should be understood like this. Even though within, they are not part of the kind of knowledge systems or part of the struggles, but that influence will be there. And at that level, I believe the success, we can't expect immediately the students will be changed. The classroom is definitely challenged. Student as a teacher has to very creatively how to play in terms of the content, in terms of the teaching, instruction, and more than that, his attitude has to play important role.
If there is no other question, I think we'll wind up with a formal vote of thanks. Should I expect any questions or any clarification or any addition from the members? Okay, it seems that nothing. So, friends, we had a very excellent and well articulated, very deep understanding lecture by Professor KESAVA. In fact, we had another lecture recently by Professor Sukumar entitled Academic Outsiders, Caste Planning in Classrooms. In fact, this lecture has connected us very well with that lecture because the theme and arguments of the two lectures are almost on similar grounds because it postulating as to what is happening with regard to the education system and knowledge system in India and what problems are the sections belonging to the social excluded communities are facing with regard to when it comes to attaining education and knowledge. So these two point of views are well taken, and it's on my personal behalf and on behalf of the Research Committee for Sociology of Education and also on behalf of the Indian Sociological Society, I thank Professor KESAVA from bottom of my heart for accepting our invitation and delivering such a wonderful lecture. And also, I can say that we look forward to you for having more such occasions. Professor KESAVA, thank you very much. Thank you one and all for making this event very successful.
Thank you, Mohammad, Nagaraj, Tanmay, and Velmurugan, Irshad. Some of my students also joined there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
Thank
Alok
you.
ji and all.
Keshav sir. Thank you.
Professor Nagaraj has been a support always. He is, appreciates a lot whenever we take up.
Right, Anna?
In fact, on his behalf, I am here in the research committee.
Right.
He has been always, not just he has pushed me forward, but he has been behind me on all occasions. And
Sir, Mohammad sir is a great leader, great intellectual scholar. We are
Yeah,
thankful to you, sir,
people
for
taking
all
over
his
the
initiatives.
sociology further.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mm.
So, Keshavana, please come next time. We'll be happy to organize a lecture in the campus.
Okay, right. Under your headship,
Thank you.
more things should be done.
I see
Yes, yes, sure.
I see Professor Radhika Menon also participating in the event. Thank you very much for, ma'am, thank you very much for participating in the lecture, and also personal thanks to students of Professor KUMAR. Thank you very much. Friends, we'll exit now.